What's up, everybody? In this video I'm comparing the Google Pixel 5a 5G with the Oneplus N200 5G. Let's get into it. So let's run down the specs and then I'll tell you exactly what I think of both of these devices. Well, for starters, the Google Pixel 5a 5G is a $450 Pixel device. It is a pretty much a new and improved Google Pixel 5G, Google Pixel 5 with 5G is just the A version, which basically brings a lot of good stuff together, and it cuts out some of the stuff from the premium phone, and it drives down the price. But it's a very compelling device. It's the cheapest 5G device that Google Pixel sells right now. On the other hand, the Oneplus N200 5G is really good low cost budget phone, and it only costs $240. So I think it's a very awesome phone. It has it runs OnePlus software. So you're getting a lot of good specs, a lot of very practical specs for a very low price. So it's like $200 less than the Pixel 5a 5G. And this one also has 5G. So it's a good budget 5G device with a lot of good stuff. But which one of these is better when you go head to head, just in general? So let's go run down the specs and then I'll tell you what I really think. So for the weight, the Pixel 5a 5G is 6.46 ounces. The OnePlus is a little bit heavier at 6.7 ounces. So they're pretty much the same weight. When it comes down to the build quality, the Pixel 5a 5G has a surprisingly a little bit of a good build quality. It comes with a metal frame and a metal back. The OnePlus N200 is more of a plasticky device. So the Pixel 5a has a better feeling in the hand with the build quality. The Pixel 5a has a eSIM embedded, while the N200 does not have one. For the dust and water resistance, the Pixel 5a has IP67, which is good for up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. The N200 does not have any water or dust resistance, so a bonus for the Pixel 5a right there. When it comes to the display, you got an OLED 60 hertz display on the Pixel 5a, but the N200, that one comes with a 90 hertz display, so you got a better, more fluid display on the N200. For the overall size of the screen, the Pixel comes in at 6.34 inches, which is a little bit smaller than the 6.5 inch display on the N200. Similar screen to body ratio. Pixel 5a is at 85%, you get around 84% on the N200. For the resolution, both of these are 1080p displays. They're both pretty good. They both give you north of 400 ppi. You got 415 on the Pixel, 405 for the N200. Little bonus for the Pixel 5a is an always on display. On the software side, both of these are running Android 11, but obviously everybody knows that the Pixel has a super clean version of Android, and it comes straight from Google, and you're gonna get it like right away. The OnePlus N200 also has a similar clean build of Android, but with the Oxygen OS skin on top, but it pretty much feels like a stock software similar to what's running on the Motorola phones. But you're not going to get updates like on the Pixel 5a 5G, which gets around 3 years. But if you hold them in your hand, they're both going to run very similarly in the software departments. For the chipset, you're running the Snapdragon 765G on the Pixel 5a. You got the Snapdragon 485G on the N200. So obviously you got a higher end processor on the Pixel 5a. For the memory and the storage, you got built-in 128 gigs on the Pixel, 64 built-in storage on the N200. Another difference though is that you don't have expandable storage on the Pixel. You do have micro SD card support on the N200. You got 6 gigs of RAM on the Pixel, 4 gigs on the N200. Now let's talk about the cameras. You got 2 cameras on the Pixel, 12 megapixel main shooter, 16 megapixel ultra wide. N200, 3 cameras, 13 megapixel main, 2 megapixel macro, 2 megapixel depth. and you get 4K video on the Pixel, 1080p on the Nord N200. Flip them around to the front, you got a selfie camera with 8 megapixels on the Pixel, 16 megapixels on the N200, and they both shoot at 1080p. So similar cameras on the selfies department. Both of these come with a headphone jack, and they both have similar Bluetooth. They got 5.0 on the Pixel 5a, 5.1 on the N200. They both support NFC, and they both got your typical USB Type-C for charging. For unlocking and security, you got a rear-mounted fingerprint reader on the 5a, 5G on the Pixel, side-mounted on the N200 5G. For battery, the Pixel 5a has a 4,680 milliamp battery versus the 5,000 on the N200. So similarly, they both have big old batteries, and they both support fast charging at 18 watts. So similar fast charging speeds. So I went through all the specs and all the nitty gritty stuff, but for most people that's going to be enough, and that's going to make a decision on which one you think is a better deal overall, or just how these phones compare. But I'm going to give you my personal opinion on how these compare and what's important to me. So the first thing that obviously is going to be important to a lot of people is the price. And although the Pixel 5a 5G is only $450, it's not a bad price for what you're getting. You're actually getting the best Pixel device. You're the best overall value in Android when you factor in pretty much, if you want like up-to-date everything, you want it straight from Google, it's pretty much the iPhone of the Android world. But if value is what you're looking for, that's what I really like to see in phones, is value. And the Nord N200 5G offers a lot of the stuff, or even better stuff than the Pixel 5a, for a price of $0 when you port in, or even $240 when you buy it outright. So both of these phones are up there with 5G. That's been important to me now. If I'm gonna buy another phone, my next phone is going to be 5G no matter what. There's no excuse now to not have a 5G phone, even if you get it on prepaid with a discount, or if you get it unlocked. So actually both of these are very good in the price department for an unlocked phone. But the N200 for 5G for a free phone, or $240, that's a super good deal. So we got that. We got the price covered. The N200 has it, and you're getting it with 5G, and that's the standard now. Now the Pixel 5a is a big disappointment. It's still not on prepaid. I think it would sell a lot if it was on the prepaid department. So that's a big loss for the Pixel 5a right there. The weight doesn't really matter to me. Let's just skip that. They're gonna be, regular weighted phones. The build quality doesn't matter to me at all, really. Pixel 5a has a metal type finish, which is nice if you're not rocking a case. But I always, no matter if the phone is cheap or expensive, I always rock a cheap case on it, basically just enough to protect it from scratches and drops and to give it more grip. I also like to stick a metal plate in between the phone and the case, so that way I could put it and magnetically attach it to the car dash or to a wall for charging or stuff like that. One thing that the Pixel 5a does have an advantage over is an eSIM, and that's very important if you're traveling. If you touch down in another country and you just want to quickly activate a phone, then that's the way to go. That's an advantage over the Nord N200. It's only good if you're traveling, or if you really want to have two different SIM cards with two data plans or two phone numbers. IP dust and water resistant is on the Pixel 5a. Not too important to me unless you're really outdoors and around the pool, or you're in an area that just rains a lot, I guess. Or if you're just super clumsy and dumb with your phone and you drop it in the toilet or a urinal or whatever. Or the more practical reason is that you have kids and they might, drop it in water or a puddle, or dump it in a bucket of water, whatever the case is. That's something you might be looking at. But overall, in general, I take care of my phones for the most part. They rarely ever break because I got a case on it. I do drop them once in a while, but I've never had it shatter or dump into water for the most part. So dust and water resistance is not too much of a big deal for me. So that's an advantage for the N200 with that price point. Next thing is going to be the display. So both of these are similar size screens. They're both big enough. The type of screens are a little bit different on these. You got an OLED display on the Google Pixel 5a. You got a IPS LCD on the N200. Not too much of a big deal for me, and I'm not a big screen guy, but one of these has a 90 hertz display, and it's the Nord N200 5G. How could a free or $250 phone have a 90 hertz fluid display while the Pixel 4a cost twice as much, or you know, pretty much not free? How could that phone not have 90 hertz? Boggles my mind. So advantage on the Nord N200. You're getting a free super fluid display that not a lot of phones have. The resolution is the same on these. They're both 1080p. Like I said, I could deal with 720p screens, no problem. I don't mind them. But you're paying a lot more for for the same type of resolution. Of anywhere above 400 ppi is good in my book. Super, super good. And both of these have it. A little bonus is the always on display on the Pixel 5a. I don't really care. Next is going to be the software, and both of these phones have similar feeling softwares. They have stock Android. Now, if you're a real fanatic of software updates and stuff, obviously the Pixel 5a has your back for at least 3 years. But you're not getting anything really extra from that stock software, because the N200 and OnePlus feels just like Google stock software, Android stock software, and same thing as in Motorola's. You're not going to get anything special by paying that $450 premium on the Pixel 5a. Honestly, I could rock an Android 9 phone that has stock on it. It'll feel the same, because for the most part we're running the same type of apps on our phones, and we're not going to notice a difference if it's running an older version of stock Android or whatnot. So in my personal opinion, I don't see a difference in the software being that much of an upgrade on the Pixel 5a. The chipset is a little bit better on the Pixel 5a, but again, we're all running the same type of apps. For the past decade, we've been running Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I personally rock, games such as Grand Theft Auto and Dead Trigger, and those, they don't use up a lot of, they don't need a big powerful chip. And that 765G is not, a super high-end chip. The Snapdragon 480 in the N200 is more than enough to run 99% of apps out there. So you got your YouTube, you got your music, you got your YouTube music, you got your Netflix, you're running your maps, all those things, your WhatsApp, all of these things are going to run perfectly fine on that lower end chip. So the chip, for me, it's important if you're a gamer or if you're producing content. Maybe it might make a difference, but I'm not into all that stuff. I care about 99% of the stuff that I use pretty much on a daily basis. And I think most people won't notice a difference in the chip quality. Next, the storage. The internal storage is a very, very important piece in a smartphone. The Pixel 5a has 128 gigs of internal storage, which is awesome. That's all you're going to need. That's more than enough for everybody. The N200 comes in at 64 gigs of storage, which, I'll be honest, me personally, I'm fine rocking a 64 gig phone, especially if it has the micro SD card slot, which the Pixel 5a does not. So the N200 will be perfectly fine for 99% of people out there. I think it's going to be perfect for people that download a lot of stuff, such as like videos and offline stuff. That's what mostly people do. They stream a lot and then they download offline, such as YouTube offline. If you have a YouTube Premium, Netflix does offline stuff, your podcast does offline stuff, your music, everything's going to be offline, but it also could be put on the micro SD card slot. So I think that the N200 is on equal footing with the Pixel 5a at a much lower price point in the storage department. Next is the RAM. I don't see a lot of difference between having 6 gigs of RAM in the Pixel and 4 gigs of RAM in the N200. The reason being, again, is the type of apps we've been using for over a decade. Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp, Maps, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff doesn't need a lot of RAM unless you're using a billion of these apps at the same time. That means you're a power user. So that means that you need an 8 gig phone of RAM. But for most people, I think you'll be perfectly fine with those 4 gigs of RAM. Next is going to be the camera. For most people, I think that's a very important piece of technology in a phone. Me, I could actually roll with a regular camera phone. I don't need to be super impressed by the camera, but you got a very nice camera setup on the 5A 5G. If you're into photography, then yes, pick the Pixel 5A 5G. That no doubt about it. That's gonna be a way better camera, way better video taking machine, especially if you want that ultra wide on there. But I think for most people, that N200 will be perfectly fine in the daylight. I think Android really is, you got to have a really nice camera setup on an Android phone to take video at night. I think that's where most phones fail, and that N200 will be terrible at night. But in the daytime, I think most people will be perfectly fine with the photos and videos you get out of the N200. It'll be very comparable to the Pixel 5A. Now, if you're a video creator or a content creator, then yeah, the N200 will probably be garbage for you. But I think for most people, you'll be perfectly fine. Another thing to consider is that if you get either of these phones and you're a content creator and trying to make videos and stuff, there's no free good option on Android to turn your videos and pictures into a nice production. You won't get a nice finished product by having these phones. You can't content create on your own with something free and that has good software. You're gonna have to offload these videos and pictures onto another device, such as a laptop, and use the software on there. Unlike the iPhone, which has free iMovie software. So if you're planning on creating content with these devices, it's not going to be a good device on Android. I'll just be completely honest with you. I have yet to find a free option that takes advantage of the cameras on these phones. And for speaking of video on these, the Pixel 5a has 4K video, which will be pretty nice, but the 1080p is still not that bad. That's another thing that I pride myself on too, is that I don't get hung up on having 4K video. I honestly just put 720p when I upload my YouTube videos and personal videos when I make a video, and 720p looks perfectly fine to me. I'm not really hung up on that. I don't need to have super crispy video because I think most people aren't going to be creating content and uploading them to websites, and 720p is really good. 480p is even DVD quality, and to me it still looks perfectly fine. So even though one camera is better than the other, I think at the end of the day, content creation is not going to be good on either of these devices. Now in the selfie department, it's going to be important if you're doing video calls or you just like to take a lot of selfie videos and uploading them to your social media or sending them to your friends. You got 8 megapixels on the 5G on the Pixel 5a, and you got 16 megapixels N200 5G. In good lighting, both of these will be perfectly fine, but you're gonna maybe struggle at night. But I don't think a lot of people are going to be using these phones at night that often to really make to be such an important piece of the phone overall. And both of these are shooting at 1080p, but in the daytime you'll be pleasantly surprised by both of these. One thing that makes some people happy is going to be that both of these devices have a headphone jack. Honestly, me in my personal life and my personal opinion, I think nobody really uses the headphone jack. I don't use it. I use Bluetooth to stream music. Everything's wireless. I don't really have a use for a headphone jack anymore. I just use the microphone. If I'm recording a video or something, I'll just use the phone and hold it up to my mouth if I want to record something clearly. This is not it's not that important to me anymore, unless you are a music fanatic and you still want to connect it via the aux cord. That's something that's your personal opinion, but in my case, I don't really care if it has a headphone jack or not. Next is going to be Bluetooth. Both of these have Bluetooth, obviously, like every other damn device nowadays. But the Pixel 5a has Bluetooth 5.0, while the N200 has 5.1. Honestly, I don't really see a difference in either of these. One's a little bit better on the Nord N200 5G, and that's a bonus. But, you know, both of these will connect to your Bluetooth headphones, your speakers, and stuff like that. There's not much to discuss. Both of these will work perfectly fine. And I think a lot of people, that's a good feature to have, is just a decent Bluetooth connection. Nothing special about these. Both of these will work. Both of these have NFC. To me, in my personal life, in my humble opinion, I don't think people use NFC that much, and that's mostly because these are for payment services. You know, you use these to tap your phone to pay. That's a common feature. I really don't use it that often. I still have my credit cards with me, and I also have a watch. So, but it's not a make or break thing for me personally. But they both have them on board. Next is they both have a USB charging Type-C port. It's a normal port. There's not much to discuss there. Next is the how do you unlock these devices and security on these. And both of these have a fingerprint reader. You have a rear-mounted one on the 5A and a side-mounted one on the N200. Now, look, they're both fingerprint readers. They're just in different places on the phone. Nothing special here to discuss. They're both reliable ways to unlock your device. These aren't the in-display fingerprint readers that are found on more expensive devices. And let me tell you, I'll be honest with you, this is why some phones are more expensive than others, and why it's considered maybe a flagship is because it's more expensive to put those in-display fingerprint readers on these phones, and that's why they're more expensive. These phones are lower-end pricing because they have the physical fingerprint reader on the back and on the side. I personally like them. I have no problem with either of these locations of the fingerprint reader. I honestly don't even like in-display fingerprint readers. From what a lot of people I've heard from, it's, they complain about them. They're hit or miss. They're not as reliable as these rear or side-mounted ones. So both of these are on par with each other. So last but not least, the battery. And I'm gonna have to say and stress this a lot. Battery is probably the number one or number two most important thing in a smartphone here in 2021 and going forward. It's always been about battery life. If you have crappy battery life, then your phone is crap. You can't use it. It's gonna be anxiety all day, and you can't use it. You're not gonna want to use it because you're worried about battery life. Luckily, both of these phones have awesome battery life. Here in 2021, a lot of phones are getting better and better with battery life. It's not an issue anymore, especially with the Pixel 5a 5G. Pixels have always had terrible battery life with small size batteries, and finally the Pixel 5a has a 4,680 milliamp battery, and I could tell you that this phone will definitely have 2-day battery life, and that's really good for a Pixel. The N200 has a 5,000 milliamp battery, so that one's also a beast. There's just no other way to explain it. A 5,000 milliamp battery is just a beast. Both of these phones will definitely get you 2 days of battery life, and that's probably one of the most important things in a smartphone is having great battery, and both of these have it. The second thing that I used to not think was a big deal, but I do appreciate it now, is fast charging. And both of these phones have 18-watt fast charging. It's not the fastest fast charging out there, but it'll definitely top you up. Since these have big batteries, if you do manage to drain it, you're gonna, for a quick top up of half an hour to 45 minutes, you'll get most of your battery back or back to 100%, no problem. So that's both of these batteries on both of these phones are good, but just guess what? The N200 has better battery life and a bigger battery than the $450 Pixel. So there you go, guys. I gave you all the specs in the beginning of the video and compared them directly, and then I gave you my opinion on my personal use and what most people are, what the points are, and which phone is better and what things are important in a smartphone. And this is my conclusion. So get the Pixel 5a 5G if you want the best phone possible. You don't have to spend more than $450. The Pixel 5a is the perfect phone that offers everything you need and don't want to sacrifice anything. You don't have to spend more than $450. Get this phone if you want everything in a smartphone. Yes, this phone is probably the best phone out there you could possibly get. and you don't spend more than $450. With that being said, I want to state that the N200 5G is probably the best valued phone out there. You can get it for free if you take your phone number to Metro on prepaid, or if you get it unlocked with no contract or nothing, it's only $240. In pure value, the N200 is worth its weight in gold. Now, it's not going to have those couple of things that the Pixel 5a has, but it has all the important stuff that you want in a phone. So it has that big battery life. It has that close to stock Android feel. It has the micro SD card slot, which is a bonus. If you're gonna have it in the case, the build quality doesn't matter anymore. The N200, and it has 5G, and the price tag, all that stuff. If you want value for your phone and overall value, definitely the N200 wins in that department. But if you want the overall best phone, the $450 Pixel 5a is the one to go. Both of these compare very, very good to each other, and they both cover the important bases perfectly with that big battery life and that price tag. The availability on the Pixel 5a sucks. I wish it was on prepaid, but what are you gonna do? At least you get 3 years of fast updates if that's your thing. But I think most people will be definitely happy with both of these devices. But I'd rather, if I had to pick one and someone offered me one for $450 on the Pixel 5a, or $240 to buy and get the N200, or free on prepaid, I'm definitely picking that N200 5G. I guess it depends on what kind of person you are. If you know how to tweak it, or you know what the limitations of phones are, compare it to the price and what else is offered, the N200 will definitely cover you. It's a more value-driven phone, and it's just the smarter buy, if you catch my drift. Well, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one. If you like content like this, I post videos all the time, and I will be comparing phones every day for as long as you could, want to keep watching these videos. So I'll see you later. Peace.